Turetzky. I'm a bass player.
And what's keeping you busy these days?
I have a degree in music history. I studied at NYU grad school with Gustav Reese, Kurt Zaks, Jan LaRue, and I've done a lot of research in old music. I've published more Dragonetti than anybody, but now John Feeney is going crazy with Dragonetti, so bless him. I'm not interested anymore, but I have a lot of other old things. I have a couple of manuscripts. I have some microfilm that I've transcribed, some very nice instrument music, and I spoke to a publisher here today from Santa Barbara, and he's interested in talking. I have a lot of educational stuff. I have transcriptions for duos, trios, quartets. I published the 12 Dragonetti waltzes and a couple solo pieces I've written, because at UCSD, when I got there, the chairman said everybody's a composer. And we didn't have musicologists. I was the closest thing to a musicologist, and I'm pretty far. I tell people I like music better than theology. That's what I tell them. So I used to teach remedial history and some music literature classes. I did start the jazz section there, which was cool. And then Cecil Lytle, a great pianist, and another mensch.
I think Nathan mentioned him.
Oh,
Nathan
absolutely.
East mentioned him.
He
in an
loved
interview.
Nathan, and vice versa. And Cecil took it over. So basically, my feeling was the bass was treated not as a first-class instrument because it didn't have a repertoire. I don't believe in playing transcriptions. I think that shows that you're weak. You play music that's written for the instrument, being aware of the resonances in the instrument. I thought too many guys have cello envy and Bottesini-itis, and this repertoire was going to lead us to the future, and it was very different. I do a lot of poetry. I talk and play at the same time, and not many people do that. John Deek has written some music.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a bass in the background, folks. And so I have a CD of all kinds of poetry and bass, some, even in fact, 4 or 5 poems by Sun Ra, the famous Sun Ra.
I've seen him live. He said, "Don't call me a musician. I am a tone scientist."
Exactly, with my intergalactic orchestra. He was wonderful. And the poems are knockouts. And I did some pretty nice music with it. And so then there's a DV where I talk about the process that goes together with the book that I'm finishing, but there's a mock-up downstairs.
Bert Turetzky, you've done so much, and the music world, the bass world, the poetry world owes you a great debt of gratitude. And I have a feeling you still have a lot more to say and a lot more you'd like to do. What can we look forward to from you in the future?
On Friday, I'm going to do a live quadraphonic piece about Charles Ives, great American composer. And I was looking in the archives in Yale University Library catalog. There was a piece called 3 Pieces for Piano, String Quartet, and Basso. I got the microfilm and I realized it was a bass part. And I played in the first piece and the second piece, and the string quartet did the middle movement. I did the first performance of an Ives piece, which made me so proud. Coming from Connecticut, knowing Danbury, the Housatonic, Stockbridge on the Housatonic, and all that. So, and I have a lot of older music that I'm going to make additions for, and I'm going to push on. I have a group called Bass and Word with Chuck Perrin, who's a poet and singer-songwriter in San Diego. We're on YouTube, Chuck Perrin and Bert Turetzky. And Frank Proto wrote this piece, Mingus, in the Underworld Cafe, and we do it. And it's a dynamite piece, but it starts with the poet in the audience, and he shouts, Mingus! And everybody jumps out of their drawers. And every time we play it, the audience goes crazy.
That's funny.
And so we're going to work for more. We're going to play a lot in San Diego. I don't want to travel too much, but there are a couple places I'd like to go. I'd like to go back to Warsaw because my mother, her passport was Polish, but the country, that land was not Polish, Russian, or Ukrainian. It was always, Mom said 1 month it was ya-ya, the next month was da-da, the next month was tak-tak. You never knew who was in charge, except they didn't like the Jews. So, what else is new? It's like the Tom Lehrer song about that. Anyway, so there's things like that. I have some ideas about teaching, and I'm writing some ideas down. Now that the book is just about done, I'm going to take the summer off, and I'm taking notes on some articles, on an article about throwing out positions for bass teaching and teaching them the fingerboard. And I tell in my book how I got the idea by a famous old black bass player from the London, Connecticut, Tiny Joe Watts. He said, I'm going to tell you the secret of bass playing. You got to know the chromatic scale. And I was young and foolish, and I almost laughed. 40 years later, I woke up one morning and I said, why, the old bastard meant learn the fingerboard, learn where all the notes are. Mingus said, he said, look, son, he said, when I look at the bass and I'm on, there's a little light that says that's E, that's F sharp. I know where they live, on all the strings, all over the bass. And I said, Charles, you have absolutely amplified and reinforced what Tiny Joe Watts told me. So I've been using that in my teaching, and a lot of the kids are feeling good about it. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff happening. I'm 80, I'm feeling well, and I plan to be around for at least 20 more years. And there you are.
What would you be if you were not a bass player? It has to be something outside of music.
Yeah, I know what it would be. It would be a social worker. I like people very much. A lot of my students still like me. They're still in touch with me. You know, Nate always talks about me. Mark, you know, Kristen. All these people do PR for me. In fact, there's going to be a small reception of my students after my concert. And isn't that nice? I mean, how many people say, oh, I remember him, he was a bastard. Oh, he was a terrible teacher. Except the people who studied with the late Fred Zimmerman. They loved him, and for good reason. I did too. I knew him a little bit. But you know, a lot of teachers, they're tough. A lot of them don't want to teach. I want to teach. We have at least one Talmudic scholar in the family. So that's about teaching. It's about sharing, and that's what I'm about. So, you know, I'm living a good life. It's been a good life, and like I said, give me 20 years more, and it'll be killer.
You are an inspiration to all of us, and it is a great honor and a privilege to talk to you. I could listen to you all day, but
you have work to do.
We have to cut it off at some point.
I got to get some rest. The plane ride here was awful. So I'll get some rest and rehearse tonight and try to give you a good concert tomorrow, all right?
We will look forward to that. Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Okay, man.